BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, bringing you all the news, insight and analysis you need as we head into another hectic weekend. It's Friday the 8th of December, I'm Amy Canavan, and coming up today...
My mindset's always to come back out fighting, and I sincerely hope the players match that as well.
Beleaguered bosses, can Kettlewell and Robson turn things around? Also...
Palmer right hand side with a corner, right footed out swinger, it's in!
Chance for White, breaks back to Bullington!
Here's a chance though for Seema to make it two, and he does!
We'll preview a busy looking fixture list and answer your questions. And we'll be joined by this man.
Oh my goodness me, there's a goal, it's gone in! It's Ryan McGowan who's turned it in for St Johnstone.
To discuss life at St Johnstone and the impact of Craig Levein in Perth.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Plenty to get through in a short spell of time, so let's not mess about. Joining me today, BBC Scotland's chief sports writer, Tom English. You well, Tom?
I am very well. Yourself?
I am well as well. And of course, it's St Johnstone's versatile Aussie, Ryan McGowan. Ryan, really appreciate you hopping on. How are things?
Very good, very good. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all, thank you. Plenty more to come from Tom and Ryan in a wee minute, but first let's run through this morning's Scottish football news. It's second versus third in the Scottish Championship tonight as Raith Rovers meet Partick Thistle at Starks Park. Sports Team will have that one live for you from 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel. Scotland defender Scott McKenna has reportedly been banished from Nottingham Forest's first team training, along with former Rangers defender Joe Worrell. He's been told to report at a different time from the rest of his teammates. Another English Premier League Scot, Nathan Patterson, came off the bench to help Everton to an impressive 3-0 win over Newcastle last night. But Sean Dyche's decision to start veterans Ashley Young and Seamus Coleman ahead of the 22-year-old right-back continues to leave a lot of Toffees fans scratching their heads. And it's a big weekend for troubled bosses in the top flight. Barry Robson's struggling Aberdeen side facing a crucial clash with Hearts tomorrow, while under pressure Motherwell manager Stuart Kettlewell says he doesn't fear the sack as his side prepare to face St Johnstone at Fir Park tomorrow.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
And one man who will be involved in that match in some way, shape or form is a revitalised Ryan McGowan. Ryan's spirits will be relatively high after that dramatic late win over St Mirren on Wednesday. How does it feel to get a win in those kind of circumstances?
Yeah, it was a scrappy game. There probably wasn't too much between the two teams. They missed a couple of chances. We had a couple of chances, but I sometimes think that those wins are vitally important. You know, come the end of the season, you don't really remember them too much, but to turn that 1 point into 3 was huge, especially, you know, the situation that we find ourselves in and how tight the league is at the bottom. You know, every win's hugely important, and it gives us a lot of confidence going into Saturday's game against Motherwell.
It does just feel that there's a bit of a boost around McDiarmid Park right now. Obviously, there was defeat last weekend to Celtic, but a really good performance. Do you feel that St Johnstone are in a good form at the moment?
Yeah, I think, you know, we always believed that we had, you know, good players that could, you know, cause teams problems. It's just, you know, pre-season, and we had a lot of injuries to sort of key players at key moments, and then we weren't really getting the rub of the green as such. You know, we drew away to Celtic, kept them to a clean sheet, drew away to Aberdeen, which at the time was a good result, but maybe on reflection it might not be. But yeah, you know, we just weren't getting those sort of wins that we needed, and then, you know, since the gaffer's come in, we've been able to pick up some pretty big wins, you know, Kilmarnock, Ross County, then St Mirren during the week. So, you know, those kind of results are huge for us in terms of, you know, getting us up the table and getting us points on the board, which is vitally important. And, you know, winning breeds confidence. So the boys are a lot more confident than they were maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, which is good.
Ryan, when Craig Levein was appointed, he said Andy Kirk would be doing all the heavy lifting in training, and that Craig would just be kind of, I don't know what, moving around the margins in his understated way. Has that been the reality of it? How does the kind of training set up? Who's taking training?
Yeah, Kirky takes all of the training, and the gaffer just kind of, you only hear him if he's not happy with something. So he watches everything, and the eagle eyes is just sort of standing up on the hill and making sure that everyone's doing the right thing. And they balance off each other really well. I wasn't sure exactly how it's worked. It's not really worked under that too much. Maybe Jim Jeffries and Billy Brown was probably the closest to that, where Billy took a lot of the training and Jeffries watched. But it's good. Kirky's really very good coach. His training sessions have been really, really good, and he's got a lot more energy than the gaffer does. So he can bring that energy to the training sessions, and then the gaffer has his sort of final word on certain things. And like I said, if he's not happy with training or if he's not happy with somebody, then he's pretty quick to let him know about it.
I bet he is. Stuart Kettlewell, you mentioned it's Motherwell this weekend. He's obviously under a little bit of pressure. Is that something that enters the players' thoughts heading into a game like this? What sort of game do you expect from Motherwell? A side that started the season really, really strong, but have struggled of late as well.
Yes, I think every game, probably outside the top two, it's pretty even across the board. I think most teams are going into games thinking that if they perform to their capabilities, they can win that game. And that's exactly what we'll be thinking. We'll be more focused on ourselves. Obviously, we're in today, and we'll be working on what we think's best to combat Motherwell and try and win. We only played them a couple of weeks ago, actually, out here. And I thought first half we were really good. Went 2-0 up, and then second half I thought they were really good, and it ended up being 2-2. So we know that they are a good team. They're just going through a sticky patch similar to us at the start of the season, but they'll be looking at it as a good chance for them to try and get 3 points, exactly the same as we're looking at it as a good chance to play them and try and get some points on the board.
Big game for Motherwell as well. Tom, do you see Kettlewell? Do you see Barry Robson as well? Let's touch on him. Do you see them both surviving this weekend?
Big
questions, Tom, big questions.
I'm glad you got that question.
Barry Robson definitely, because there's a League Cup final coming up, but he doesn't want to be losing too many more games. Stuart Kettlewell, you look at it, they've actually got a poor record against St Johnstone, so that's not great going into this weekend. And that 1 in 12, conceding way too many goals. And Motherwell, it's almost like every second shot on target against them ends up in the back of their net. So they're going through a horrible run. Kettlewell now is very much in Stephen Hamill territory. No win in over 3 months. So he really needs to turn it around. And I'm not saying anything he doesn't already know. I mean, he knows all this stuff. Liam Kelly was quite emotional yesterday talking about his manager, in praise of his manager, So he's obviously got the dressing room. It's just they're in, as Ryan says, they're in a horrible rut and they just can't battle their way out of it. So it's a huge game for Stuart Kettlewell. Aberdeen, I mean, they're in a bad spot, losing way too many games for the quality of squad that they have. Football is pretty turgid. I mean, it's not good. The fans have turned now. A lot of them have turned, and again, huge game against Hearts. It's a weird one. Aberdeen v Hearts, right? So Aberdeen have got one of the best strikers in the league in Miofsky, yet they've only got 15 goals in 14 games, which is not great. And Hearts have got one of the best strikers in the country in Shankland, and they've got 14 goals in 14 games. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of odd.
Well, Craig Levein has come in and made a big impact at St Johnstone. The Perthshire Saints level on points now with Motherwell, heading into the weekend's encounter with a game in hand as well. What's been the big difference since he's took charge? Is it simply that he has brought you back into the side and that is why points are being picked up?
I like to think so. But,
quite right.
No, I think he's just brought a style of play that he wants us to play in, which suits us. I feel that the things that he's asking us to do, we're all capable of doing. He's probably got us a tiny bit better organised. He's got some principles that are absolute non-negotiable, which he's made sure that everybody knows. And we're probably just a little bit more, maybe streetwise as such, in terms of knowing that you're not probably going to win the game in the first 20 minutes, but the longer you can stay in games. And I think we're very good under Callum Davidson at that. I think before it kind of started going a little bit south, I think we had never got beaten by more than 2 goals. And in this league, if you're in the even if you're losing 1-0, is like if you can keep it 1-0 to the last 10 minutes, whether you're away from home or at home, everybody gets nervy because they're so desperate for those 3 points. So I think that's important. That we stay in games for as long as possible, and like you said, when we start winning games, you get that little bit more confidence. You have a bit more breathing space. Fans start to appreciate and see what you've been working on in training. And, I think since the gaffers come in, each game we've progressed and we've got better, and long may that continue.
Tom, Ryan mentions the streetwiseness of St Johnstone these days. Is that something that's impressed you since Craig Levine's taken over? Obviously, he's a very, very experienced manager.
Yeah, I think he's got a presence, Craig, and he's got an authority about him. Andy Kirk is seemingly a very good coach. A lot of people say really good things about Andy. And there is a kind of, like, Craig his temperament is, he's never too high, never too low. He has a kind of steeliness there. And I'm not surprised to see that, that the team looks to have toughened up, become less, and not a soft touch, because they weren't a soft touch before, but they look as if they're more organised. And as you say, Ryan, you're absolutely right. In this league, if you stay in the fight, just stay in the fight. If you go down one goal, don't concede a second quickly. It's amazing the amount of times that error compounds error, and before you know what, a team is 2-0 down in this league. Stay in the fight, which St Johnstone have been doing, and you never know. And midweek was a perfect example of that. So no, I think they're an all-round tougher side to beat, and I think that's what Levine's kind of mantra would be: be hard to beat. In the first instance, be organised, be hard to beat. And he's had a very, very good start.
Another manager you've worked under, Ange Postecoglou, he had another tricky result last night, losing 2-1 to West Ham at home. Bit of a sticky spell, seen it up here. What do you make of the job that he's been doing at Spurs so far? Obviously, he sort of went down there and everyone was shocked and surprised. If only they'd paid a little bit of attention to the Scottish Premiership, they might have had an idea of what they were getting. But you got a front row seat to Ange Postecoglou's workings. If you had to pin his success to one thing, what's the secret to it?
It's probably how much belief and confidence he has in how he wants to play, and he just makes you feel that if you make a mistake, it's actually not a mistake. It's just a journey that you're on, and that you're going to have different hurdles to overcome, and those things are that he actually, I wouldn't say he enjoys losing or he enjoys the tough times, but he always says that he enjoys the start of it the most, because that's when people are doubting him, and that's when you kind of get the boys from the man, and you can sort out who's actually properly with you and who's maybe a little bit unsure. And I've been involved in games where we've got beat comfortably, and he's come back in and it's all positive in terms of what we were trying to do and what we were doing. And then we've won comfortably, and he's come in and given everyone a rocket, because he thinks that if we perform to that level against the top sides, we won't win. So he's very much sure of the way that he plays will bring success, and trying to get everybody on board with that. And the quicker he gets everyone on board with that, the better that everybody plays. And I think just that confidence and that belief of having your back, whether you make mistakes or whether you lose a game, he's very much, if you're doing what he asks you to do, then you feel like you're the best player in the world.
Well, if Ange Postecoglou is listening, I'm sure you're still going to be on the Christmas card list, Ryan, after that.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Finally, let's quickly run through the other fixtures this weekend. So on Saturday, we've got Aberdeen against Hearts, Livy against Hibs, Rangers host Dundee, Ross County travel to St Mirren, and then on Sunday it's Kilmarnock against Celtic. We've obviously discussed St Johnstone's visit to Fir Park, so if you could both each pick one other fixture that stands out for you, what would it be and why? Tom, let's start with you.
Well, it would have to, we spoke about Aberdeen versus Hearts. It would have to be that. The whole Barry Robson thing, Pittodrie atmosphere will be interesting. There's an awful lot of pressure on him. There's an awful pressure on Alan Burrows and Dave Cormack. Dave Cormack has obviously appointed Stephen Glass. That didn't work out. Appointed Jim Goodwin. That That didn't work out. Barry Robson is not working out as it stands. I'd say he's loath to go back in to try and find another manager. The last thing on earth he wants to do is that. So I think there's huge pressure on Aberdeen this weekend against Hearts team they're going pretty well.
Ryan, let's throw it to you.
Well, you stole the game that I was thinking of.
Oh, an
So
ex-Hearts player thinking about Hearts.
Yeah, that was my only go-to. I'll probably go one closer to us. I'll go Livingston against Hibs. It wasn't so long ago that we were kind of cut adrift from everybody, and Livingston have shown over the years that when everyone's kind of doubting them, that's when they can get a big result. And at the same time, Hibs have done well under Nick Montgomery, albeit not setting the world on fire, but they've just gone about their business relatively well in terms of picking up points and being hard to beat. But Livingston's a notorious tough place to go. It will be a big test for Hibs going there. If they want to try and get third and fourth and be up there, they need to be going to places like Livingston and winning comfortably. But at the same time, Livingston will be looking at it as a game that they can get 3 points and keep in touch with everybody else. So that's going to be an interesting result that they'll be looking out for after the game on Saturday.
I bet.
I think Livy have gone 5 without scoring, haven't they?
Yeah.
And I think the last team to go 6 without scoring in the league is Aberdeen in 1999. So, Livy, something needs to happen. Something positive needs to happen at Livy pretty soon, because that team looks an absolute freefall. David Martindale, I think, has lost, that kind of mad energy that he had. I think he's kind of more of a subdued character this season. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at Livingston. That is a troubled club. And Hibs, despite, the result the other night, the Hibs have picked up. They're not in bad form at all. So they're all interesting. St Mirren versus Ross County is interesting. Derek Adams, he's shooting the lights out since he came back in. And St Mirren are on a lousy run themselves. So just everywhere you look, there's interesting things this weekend.
There absolutely is another cracking weekend in store. Do keep your questions coming in to scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. We've just got a wee bit of time to ask. Let's ask Ryan this one. It's a short and sweet question from Robbie. He asks, do you think VAR is here to stay, or do you reckon it's getting emptied for the future? Let you answer that, Ryan, and then I'll let you throw in as well, what is it like experiencing VAR as a player? We all know what it's like as a fan in the stands, but as a player on the pitch, what's it like?
I think it's here to stay. I can't see the powers that be changing it. So I think it's here to stay, and I think the best way to try and do it is just get the refs and get everything a little bit crisper and quicker. I think that's probably everyone's biggest moan with it is the time that it takes over certain incidents. It's frustrating as a player sometimes. You score a goal and you get that lift, you get the crowd going, and then the ref standing in the middle of the pitch holding his ear, and you're thinking, who's done a foul, or who's is it offside by centimeters, or is it is there a foul leading up to it? So that's a little bit annoying as such, and I think it takes the pure celebration. Everyone goes to the game wanting to celebrate a goal, and I feel like that's been taken out of the game at all levels, really. You don't want to be the fan that's celebrating and giving it to the away fans for it quickly to be chalked off for a handball somewhere in the middle of the pitch 20 minutes ago. So I feel like football's maybe lost that a little bit, but unfortunately I don't see it going anywhere. So it's just one of those things that we're going to have to deal with and just hope that they get better at it and it can just be that little bit quicker.
Hold back on the celebrations, a good tip. It's time to wrap things up, but do remember Sportscene will have full coverage of Raith Rovers against Partick Thistle from 7:30 tonight on the BBC Scotland channel. Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland will have all the live action across the weekend, and Sportscene will have your highlights on Saturday and Sunday evening. For now, my many thanks to Tom English and Ryan McGowan, and thank you for listening. Remember, you can get the Scottish Football Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, so if you haven't done so already, just search for us on your preferred platform and hit subscribe. We are with you every day of the week, so until next time, enjoy your weekend and enjoy your football.
Just a quick word to say the Scotland Rugby podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English for everything you need to know about the world of Scottish rugby. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby podcast.